Humans had a question for centuries. Is there a world after death? If there is a world, then what is it like? The story is also about a similar world, in which it is shown what happens after death. In the beginning of the story, a man named Chris Nielsen is shown. He is a doctor by profession and he has come to Switzerland for a holiday. Here he met a girl, her name is Annie Collins, and both of them become friends in their first meeting. Gradually their friendship deepens and they get married. After many years of marriage, it is shown that their family has everything that a happy family should have. They have 2 children. Their son's name is Dan and their daughter's name is Mary. Mary tells her mom to come and pick up her after school. But Annie has a meeting, that's why she can't come to pick them up. She says, I will send someone else, and then both children go to school. And this is the last time they both see their children because both of their children died in a car accident. This is a big shock in their lives. Both of them were completely broken by this. Even Annie's mental condition is also disturbed because she is unable to bear the loss of her life. She considers herself responsible for the death of her children. She feels that if she had gone to take her children, perhaps they would have been alive today. Seeing such a condition of Annie, Chris too gets completely broken, but somehow he helps Annie. He manages to cure her. Now these two care about each other. 4 years passed, and one day when Chris was in the hospital, Annie calls him and he tells him that there was a painting exhibition today in which 8 big paintings were supposed to come from Germany, but those paintings didn't come, and due to this, Chris gets more upset and tells her to put her paintings there. Actually, she is also a great painter, but she does not like her paintings. Annie is very relieved by this, and when Chris was going home to collect her painting, he sees that there is a traffic near the tunnel and there is an accident involving many vehicles inside, and when he reaches to the vehicle, which was completely upside down, a vehicle collides with the same vehicles and come towards the Chris, due to which Chris dies. And after Chris' death, Annie is completely broken, while Chris does not know that he is dead and now his soul left his body. It takes a lot of time for Chris to accept this. There is also a shadow which he cannot see clearly. In fact, Chris does not want to leave the earth. He always wants to be around Annie because he loves her so much. He also makes her aware of his presence again and again. However, Annie can't see him, but whenever he makes her aware of his presence, her pain increases. The shadow is with Chris. He asks him that when all this will end. The shadow says that it will end only when you want. Chris' consciousness also understands that as long as his soul remains around Annie, her pain will increase. That is why he says goodbye to Annie forever and leaves from there. And from here, he goes to the world of his imagination. This is the same world where Annie and he met for the first time. Annie had made a very big and beautiful painting of this place, and at this moment, Chris is inside the same painting. That is, this is the place of his dreams where Chris and Annie wanted to spend their whole lives in the future. Chris is very happy to come here, but in the real world, Annie is completely broken. And Annie, along with a painting in which Chris is currently inside, makes another painting. And this is a very beautiful painting of a tree, and Chris can too see the tree in this world. Due to this, the shadow that is present with Chris becomes completely fond of her. He sees that he has never seen anything like this before. This happens only when you have a soulmate, and you and Annie are still connected to each other somewhere through Annie's painting. But Annie doesn't know this, and that tree painting which Annie had made, she puts liquid on it. Due to this, the tree starts melting in Chris' world as well, and Chris becomes very sad by this. Chris also finds a toy from her daughter's childhood that she had torn in her childhood, and after seeing it, he tells the shadow, whose name is Albert, that my children are here and I want to meet them. Albert tells Chris that this is a very big world where everyone lives according to their own thoughts and desires. You create your own world. You can meet your children whenever you want. The next day, another girl comes there in a place of Albert to meet Chris. This girl's name is Leona, and she says that Albert had some work today, which is why I have come here. She asked him, would you like to come with me into my world? She takes Chris with her into the world. Although this world is completely different from Chris, but this world is as beautiful as Chris. Leona gave a tour to her world to Chris, but he was thinking something else all the time. Actually, he is missing his daughter a lot today. Leona asks Chris to tell her any memory of his daughter's childhood, and Chris tells her that in her childhood, I always used to play chess with my daughter, although she could never win. Along with this, he also remembers the heaven house of her childhood, with which she used to play. When he turns his eyes and looks once again, he sees that this world is exactly like that. Leona tells Chris that in her childhood, she was going to Singapore with her dad. Then there came a flight attendant, seeing whom my dad smiled, and he told me that Asian girls are very sweet, beautiful, and intelligent. That girl's name was also Leona. Maybe my dad had said it likewise that day, but that day I decided that the day I grow up, I will looked like this. And he realized that Leona is her real daughter, who is what she wanted to be, and this is the world she loved so much as a child. The world she wanted to go to. The way Chris is in the world of his paintings, where he wanted to spend his whole life with Annie. Similarly, his daughter Mary is in her own world, which is a raven, and now he starts seeing her real daughter, and he embraces her. After this, Chris comes back to his world, and Albert comes once again to meet him. He asks Albert, "Where have you gone?" Albert tells him that there was an important work. Now we have to act with courage, and he tells Chris that your wife has committed suicide. This makes Chris very sad, but somewhere he also feels consoled because he knows that his wife was in a lot of pain. He says that all her pain should go away. When can I see my wife? Albert tells him that maybe never. Chris says, what does it mean? Albert says that your wife has committed suicide, and those who commit suicide go to another world. He feels very sad because his wife Annie has a place in hell and not in heaven. He asks Albert, why are you punishing her? On the earth she already suffered that much. Then Albert says, there is no judge here. Things work out on their own. Chris says that I don't believe in these ways, and I will get my wife back at any cost. Albert says no one from that world has ever come because people who commit suicide never know that they are dead. They get trapped in a whirlpool where they remain trapped for eternity. And Chris says that I will not give up. I will save my wife. And you said that there is no judge here. There are no rules here. Albert listens to Chris and says that you should get a chance. We have to find a guide who can take us to that world. And Albert takes Chris to a library where they meet an old man who will take them from here to the world of darkness. That is the world of hell. Now all three of them go into the sea in a small boat. There is a very fierce storm going on, and when they are in the middle of the sea, many spirits come around their boat, and those spirits sink their boat in the water. But after some time, all three of them land on one shore. They reach the sea, and when they come up from the shore, they see that there are many sunken ships in the sea. Chris asks his guide which place this is, and he tells them that it is a door to hell. But now they stop getting signals from Annie because they were getting signals from Annie through the thoughts of Chris' mind, that is his memories of Annie. And now he has stopped getting signals because he is not thinking about his wife but about his son. And now he remembers how in his childhood he used to tell his son that he could do very well in studies, while his son was not very good at studies. But he always wanted to live up to his father's expectations and become the way his father wanted him to be. But before he could try to become like that, he and his sister died in an accident. And here in the world of darkness, in the world of hell, Chris realizes that Albert, who is with him, is none other than his son. In fact, Chris always wanted his son to be a person who helps everyone, the one whom everyone loves. He also wanted that if ever any difficult time comes in his life, he should always be with his son in that difficult time. And this is the reason that in this difficult time, he is with his son. His son tells him that you know why I made you in the form of Albert, because in your life he was the only person whom you always listen and always believe. In fact, when Chris was young, he practiced under a doctor, and the name of that doctor was Albert, who was not only his teacher but he considered him like his father. This is the reason why Chris' son's soul made him as Albert youthful form to whom he didn't recognize. And now all three of them start moving ahead. Then the guide who is with them says that now Albert cannot come with us because you have recognized him. And if he stays with us, then you will keep his memories with you and you will not be able to connect with your wife's memories. And we will never know where your wife is. That is why Chris' son Albert, that is Ian, has to stay here. And Chris moves ahead with that old guy. When both of them go ahead, Chris sees thousands of heads whose heads are buried under the ground. And among those heads, he also sees one of Anna's head. When he runs in that direction, the whole place sinks and Chris and many souls start falling down from that height. Now Chris once again his memories of his wife Annie in his mind, and now those memories draw him towards Annie. Now Chris and the guide reached a place that was completely ruined, but when Chris looks at the place carefully, he sees that it is the house of his dreams. The guide tells him not to get trapped in this illusion. This is the whole thing. It's all an illusion that Annie has created from her memories. That's why whenever you meet Annie, don't stay there for more than 3 minutes. If you stay there for more than that, you will forget everything, and that life become your real life, and you will never be able to escape from this world of darkness. Here, Chris realized another thing, that the guide who is with him is none other than Albert, the same doctor with whom he once practiced, whom he considers his father figure who always guided him, and once again after his death, he is guiding him. Here, Albert also accepts that he is Albert, and he tells Chris, you know why I and the children took different forms, because if we had met in the real form, our relations would have been the same as they were before, which would have hindered all of us from understanding each other from within. Come back quickly after meeting her. Now you have your children. It is a different world, so we have to get out of here as soon as possible. After this, Chris enters the house that used to be his and Annie's dream house, but is completely destroyed. There was a dungeon where Annie was sitting, but Annie doesn't remember anything. She does not remember who Chris is, nor does she know that she is dead. dead. In fact, she is trapped in a vortex of time. Although Chris tries to remind her who she is and what her past was, but Annie doesn't remember anything. Chris tries many times to remind Annie of everything, but Annie does not remember anything, and neither does who she is. All Annie remembers is that her children and her husband are dead, and they will never come back. Tired, Chris comes back outside to where Albert was. Chris tells Albert that you were right. She doesn't remember anything. Albert tells Chris that this journey was for you from the beginning, not for her. She will never come back. Chris says, I give up, but not in the way you want. I will go back to my wife, and you tell my children that I love them so much, but I can't leave my wife, the mom of my children, and tell Albert to leave, and he himself came back. He comes to the same house where Annie was and tells Annie that good people go to hell because they can't forgive themselves, and I too can never forgive myself. But I forgive you. She says, I took the life of my children, I took the life of my husband, because Annie feels responsible for the death of her husband and her children. She feels that if she had driven herself to drop her children off at school, then the children would have been alive. And if she had asked her husband to not to come to the exhibition place with a painting, then he too would have been alive. Chris tells Annie that you are such a beautiful person who died to be with her husband and children. You gave up your life and chose hell instead of heaven. He also tells her that I'm sorry I left you alone, but you should never give up. Now Chris' memory of himself also starts disappearing, and this world life starts becoming his reality. But before he can completely adapt to it, Annie remembers that this is her husband, Chris. She wants to save him at any cost and wants to get him out of this world. The next moment his eyes close completely, and when his eyes opens, he sees that he is at the same place, which was the place of his and Annie's dream, where both of them wanted to spend their whole lives with each other. The power of their love brings both of them back from hell to heaven, where they also get their children. Chris tells Annie that both of us should be born once again so that both of us can live together and can experience each other's company once again and live with each other. He says that the children also want the same, but the children will stay here, and after this, it is shown that both of them born once again on earth, where both of them find each other. Although their age is less, now both of them are with each other. With this, the story ends here. In this story, we are told that many things are not in the hands of humans. They cannot control life and death, but they should not stop living at any cost, because even after this world, there is probably another world where humans can achieve everything that they want. At the same time, we are also told that suicide is never a solution in life. If Annie had not committed suicide, she would have met her husband and her children in the world of heaven. But due to her mistake, Chris has to struggle, but the power of his love brings both him and his wife Annie back to heaven. But perhaps this may not happen to everyone. So this was the whole story of the movie What Dreams May Come, which is based on a novel.